Hi, everyone. I'm Shane McMurray, CEO and founder of The Wedding Report, and welcome to the venue series of our wedding podcast / video series. Today, I'm meeting with Erica from Loews Hotels. They have 26 hotels around the country. So, Erica, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Tell me about you and your business. I know you have lots of locations, but tell me where you guys, generally located, and then what your role is in the company, website address, Instagram.
All the things. Well, hi everyone, and thank you, Shane, for having me. So happy to have this conversation today. My name is Erica Carvalho. I am the Corporate Director of Catering and Conference Services for Loews Hotels and Company. As mentioned, we have 26 properties across the United States and Canada, really in immersive destinations across the country. You could be in the beach at our Miami Beach Hotel. You could be out in the desert at Loews Ventana Canyon, in the city at Loews Philadelphia, Loews Boston, Loews Regency in New York. Really great immersive locations at the destinations people want to visit, which is great for our employees and our guests. And really at each of our locations, we have amazing event spaces, ranging from 2,000 square feet in our Bisha property in Toronto, Canada, to over 100,000 square feet at some of our properties in our Orlando locations, which we have several down there. So really like to say that we have something for everyone, which is great. We do events such as weddings and social events. We do large corporate gatherings and multi-day conferences. So a little bit of everything. My particular role is newer to our brand. I've been with Loews Hotels for over 11 years, which is crazy to think back on. The majority of my time has been in conference and catering, but the development of this role was really designed to connect with our teams across the brand and help with business growth and development. Some ways that comes to life is through training opportunities. I visit all of our properties and sit with our teams and figure out how I can best support them. It's also a lot of partnering with our internal groups, so our sales teams, our marketing teams, to see how we can best partner in the event space. So a lot of partnerships, but really my main focus over the last year has been to help curate and cultivate our tone of voice when it comes to weddings by Loews Hotels. Weddings are nothing new for Loews. We've been doing them for years. But I think through the last couple of years and seeing the resiliency of weddings through the pandemic especially, has given us the opportunity to really focus on what it means to have a wedding at one of our properties. And it's a slightly different experience depending on where you are, but we wanted to have that cohesive red thread through, regardless of if you're on the West Coast, the East Coast, in Canada, in Miami, that you still have that feeling of having a wedding at a Loews Hotel property. So that's what I do.
That's good because, in the wedding space, I think experience is probably one of the big things that couples are looking for today. Not just where and what are they doing, but having a really fascinating, great, unique experience that they can have in a space, right? That works for them. So
no, it's so true, and that's one of as we were putting together those thoughts and having these focus groups, that came up time and time again. It's not just the ceremony and the reception, but it's that experience. You're celebrating this major milestone, and it is arguably one of the most special days. So what can we do to help set apart that day and partner with you on truly having a unique experience? So you really nailed it on the head with that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too about the market shift, even from 10 years ago, more and more people are having their ceremony reception at the same location. So being able to provide that experience where they can do everything in one space and experience everything together is huge, right? It's just that's what's happening, right? That's what's happening today. Yeah. Tell me, what's the one thing that gets you excited about the work that you do?
So, after being in the industry for a while, there are a lot of things that come to mind. But I think the one thing that stands out, and really the red thread for me in my career, is the importance of partnerships and relationships, and the connections that you make within those. And not connections by way of, positioning yourself or getting ahead, but truly being able to connect with people. On any given day, I have the opportunity to connect with our amazing teams and our leaders on property. I connect with our chief revenue officer. I connect with our partners outside of the brand. And I have the opportunity to get to know them outside of what they just do for a living, but who they are as people. And that's what I've loved about the hospitality industry, my roles, just being able to connect with others and learn from them, get to know different backgrounds, different views, different levels of experience, and create those connections. I've met some of my very best friends in this industry. I've been mentored by some of the most amazing leaders. And I have the opportunity to meet new people every day. I mean, we're connecting here today together. And it's just something I'll never take for granted. I think it's something super special about the hospitality industry, and I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in it, right? The hospitality industry, right? It's about relationships and connection, and so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
You guys have your own vendors that provide service for your venues, or do you allow couples to like bring people in from the outside, or how does that work typically?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a blend there. And so I was also a previous sales manager at our property, so I experienced this firsthand. And I would always tell our couples that we want this day, whether it's a wedding or any type of event, to be specific to you. So we have great vendors that we work with in each of our markets, but we're also open to partnering with others. It's all about expanding that network. And so the one thing, we do provide all food and beverage at all of our properties. On occasion, we will partner with outside caterers when it comes to something very culturally specific, but otherwise we are the sole providers of food and beverage. And we do provide tables, chairs, linen, staging, dance floor, all of the basics. But then we are more than open to working with vendors to bring in things that are special to the couple for that particular day. So kind of a mix. If someone wants to come in and say, let's just go with everything that you offer, I'm done planning, then we're more than happy to provide that. Or they can bring in absolutely everything and really curate that day. So
that's cool. Yeah. What's the process like that couples go through with you guys?
Yeah, so what I loved when I was a seller, and what I think is super unique about what we offer, is that at each property we have a dedicated catering sales team. And that team, sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's 3 or 4, depending on the size, but they really work with the couple from the very first inquiry all the way through the end of their event, and post-event, really. We often call this super talented group of people a couples concierge, because they are there to help and really be a guide throughout the entire journey. And I think it's kind of unique, because often you will have someone that you work with on the selling piece, before the contract is signed, and then you have someone else post contract, which certainly works, but it adds that level of connectivity between the couple and this individual on working together. They work together on menu selections, on working with all of their vendor team. It's truly a partnership throughout the entire process. So and like I said, the one thing that we really hang our hats on is the fact that you can choose to host your event at one of our properties, and it can be completely full service. To your point of having the ceremony and the reception in the same place, You can have your people stay at the hotel. You can host your rehearsal dinner at one of our restaurants, the ceremony and reception. Like, it can be this immersive experience where everyone gets to stay together for the entire weekend. And you have your catering sales manager, your couples concierge there to help you plan that entire process.
Well, and the properties are beautiful. I've been to the one, I'm in Tucson, so I've been to the one in Tucson, and it's unbelievable, right? It's up against the mountains at the Catalinas, and it's just like amazing. I think there's even a hiking trail you can go up in the mountains if you want. Of course, right now is not the time to be hiking, but
bring plenty of water.
yeah, for sure. That's great. So how far in advance do you say, I mean, would you recommend couples book? And then what are you seeing today? I mean, I know it's kind of a crazy time right now, but what are you seeing, and what are your recommendations?
Crazy is definitely the word that I would use to explain it. You know, I'm so used to seeing that booking window for a wedding between 9 and 12 months. That's really the sweet spot for us. Certainly in a more wedding-centric venue, that might be a little bit longer of a time frame, but 9 to 12 months had always been ideal. But we have seen such a shift in moving to the shorter-term booking windows. And that transcends weddings. That's every event across the board. But I just came across a contract last week for a multi-day 200-person wedding that signed for this October. And that would have been unheard of before. But I think it's a product of, you know, the lift and shift of weddings from the past couple of years, and still having a little bit of hesitation to book. I get it, you know, we're moving past it, but you know, it's still in the back of everyone's mind. So we're really seeing that 3 to 6 month window. I don't know that will have a long lasting stay. I do hope that we go back to the more standard booking window of 9 to 12 months, but it is certainly a short-term game right now. You know, and that's just, and we work around it, but it just makes, you know, it's a lot of decisions to make for a couple in a short amount of time. So
sure is.
I hope for their sanity, it kind of goes back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. What specific advice would you give couples today that are out there planning, getting ready to book a venue?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the most important things is to remember that it is their day. I would always hear couples say, like, well, my mom wants, or at my best friend's wedding, and there's always going to be outside factors and people giving their 2 cents. But at the end of the day, this is the day that celebrates these 2 people starting their new life together. And so it should be a reflection of that and be what you want. I think that should come first and foremost. And then on the other side of things, coupled with that, but equally as important, I think the element of communication is huge through the planning process. And that's communicating with your partner, that's communicating with your vendors, in making sure that vision comes to life, but also being very realistic about things. And I think the key to that is communication. So those would be my two things.
For sure. What would you say that you're seeing, like, what are couples asking for today that maybe a couple of years ago you saw, like pre-COVID, right? What were they asking for? And then what are you seeing today that you're maybe a shift in that?
You know, there's 2 things that come to mind right away. And one, I think, is directly correlated to the pandemic. And that is couples being more engaged with contract terms, especially cancellation clauses, which makes sense. You know, at the end of the day, as fun as this day is and as celebratory as it is, you are still entering into a contractual obligation. And so it's super important to know what that entails. And I think that couples are becoming more comfortable and confident asking about those things and talking through them, which I think is great. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. You know, I during the time I was on property as a catering manager and had to have those tough conversations. And I was super proud of how, as a company, we handled those conversations. And our contracts were always pretty sound with cancellation and force majeure. But it's incredibly important to know what you're getting into. And so I see that a lot, and I welcome it, and I hope that doesn't go away, frankly. I think it's super important. And on the other side, on the softer side, I think that there's a huge level of customization that people are looking for. Often they have been waiting to celebrate with their guests, and they want this to be a truly unique experience and an immersive experience. And I see that come to life a lot in wanting to bring in elements of the destination to their event. And, you know, being in Nashville, it's something that I saw a lot. People would want Nashville hot chicken as a pass order during their reception. They would want the best whiskeys and bourbons from around. And we, across all of our hotels, have really great partners in the local markets. We call them our flavor partners. And it's the perfect way to bring in those elements. So I love that, and I welcome it. I think it's a super fun way to go about planning, and it makes a great impression on guests. So I see that customization is first and foremost for a lot of these couples.
Does that make it difficult? I mean, I think it's a great idea to bring in like local flavors, you know, community, right? Like, you know, whiskey, hot wings, right? That's total Nashville, right? You know, and like for Tucson, it would be like, maybe tacos and food.
Prickly pear margaritas.
Yeah, I mean, just like specific things that are very specific to this region, right? And I think that's pretty awesome. But do you find that is that more difficult? And does that really, I mean, does it make it difficult for the couple from an expense perspective? Like, oh yeah, you can add as much customization as you want, but that's really going to make it more expensive. How does that?
You know, it certainly can have an effect. Like if you're looking to offer, your entire menu to be sourced locally, certainly, that's going to have an effect.
Yes. Okay.
However, I think that we've done a really good job of setting these partnerships in each of our markets to be able to offer some of these things as a more standard offering, so that you're not always paying the premium. It's always been a hallmark of Loews to be immersed in the destination that you're in. So we don't want someone to feel like they have to pay extra just to experience what's local to the market. So certainly if they want the full kit and caboodle, there's going to be a little bit of a price tag, but I think there's something for everyone.
Awesome. So last question for you, Erica. If you had to go back 3 to 5 years, what would you tell yourself, with regards to today?
Yeah. Hindsight is always 2020, of course.
Right. Sure.
And I think this will maybe come across as kind of basic, but I would tell myself to truly embrace being myself. That there's no need to fit into a box of what I think I should be or do. I think about this specific story, and it's going back beyond 3 to 5 years, but I was getting ready to graduate college, and I was in a hospitality program, and I was getting ready to go to a career fair. And it's actually where I ended up meeting Loews Hotels, which was great. But in preparation, I knew I needed a portfolio to put my resumes in.
Yeah. And
so I go to the store, and in my mind, I said, all right, I need a black or a navy portfolio because it's professional and it's what I should have. And so I'm in the store, I think it was Target, and I'm in the aisle, and I'm immediately drawn to this red leather portfolio. And cue the mental breakdown, because in my mind, I needed a navy or a black one. And so, I end up being in the aisle for what feels like an hour, and I call my mom, and she's like, if someone is going to judge you based on the color of your portfolio, then maybe that's not the best connection for you anyway. If that's what you're leaning towards, you need to just do it because it's what's right for you. And I think many moons later, I still have that portfolio and no one said a thing about it at the career fair, but it was one of those lessons of just doing you know, being comfortable in the skin that you're in and not feeling like you have to conform to these societal norms or be a certain way. It's much more enjoyable when you just do you and are comfortable being that way. So I try to live that day in and day out.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Erica, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much, Shane. Bye.
Bye.